Well, good evening. I am joined here with our blessed and honored brothers, Brother Iliya Vasilevskiy, a leader from Crossroads Church. Iliya, thank you for joining us tonight. Also with me here is Andrey Babin, one of our leaders from SCC Youth. Andrey, thank you for joining. We are in America. We live in a very interesting and very special time. And the time is a time of unrest, a time of confusion, a time of uncertainty. The list is long. It all started with the COVID-19 and quarantine, and now we're in a different season. We're in a time of practically chaos to some extent, degree, where people are scrambling to find answers to vital questions in life. And this video, this series is to make an attempt to answer some of those questions from the biblical standpoint, what the Bible speaks of this. To get guidance from a biblical standpoint, I think is what we'll try to attempt to do tonight. Lord, help us. And the first question is, where the church should stand on the question of justice. And when we say this, in the background we have the picture of a man that was suffered and died in the hands of the police, George Floyd, we ask, where does the church should stand in the question of justice?
All right, I will go, and I just want to talk about it. First and foremost, I want to define justice. Justice, the definition of justice is a just behavior or treatment. The biblical definition, from my understanding, and I can back up scripture if you would like me to, justice is giving, by God's grace, is giving the man or the human the benefit of the doubt before considering him evil or bad. God did that with all of us. He knew our record, He knew who we were, and He is a just God. If He went by the earthly definition, we should all be condemned. We should all be judged. But by His grace, by His mercy, He gave His Son to die for us. All right? What happened, if you really watch the video, you can't excuse it, you can't justify it. It was evil. But the result of it, when we say all police or all groups, we can't do that because biblically justice, we have to give the benefit of the doubt to people that they're not evil. To assume a whole group or whole nation is evil, we can't do that from a biblical perspective. We have to take it from a singular situation, or however. My view, or what I believe the church's view on this, is we should never, ever, ever justify any evil action. But we should never assume everyone is like that. When we look at the situation with the one main officer who's being tried for this, and looking at the whole story and the background of everything, we can't assume that every officer in the country is like that. We can't assume that everyone's like that because it's not just.
Thank you. Andrey, do you have anything to add?
It's a very applicable question to our time. There's a book that, weirdly enough, I'm reading right now. It's called The Republic. I'm still not done with it. Iliya and I actually talked about it. But there is a couple of chapters in this book dedicated to explaining what is justice and what it is. What would a just person look like? Perfect justice. And these are heathens, right? These are philosophers. They're living before Christ. But the interesting thing is that they come to the conclusion that truly no one here on earth is just. Because even if a person is considered just by someone else, or by a community, or by a nation, he still will have certain motives. Even if everything else is pure, and the single motive of being considered just is driving him to be just, that's impurity. And that's their kind of, and they bring up a lot of like philosophy and stuff, which I don't even understand. I mean, I don't understand, but some of this stuff is like very kind of clear cut. And they, interestingly, talk about the perfect, just man, and they try to paint him, and they come to the conclusion that if there was a just man, he would be laughed at, not understood. He would lose in every respect of life, as we think what winning is and what losing is. He would lose. And ultimately, and this is like, I'm trying to like almost do a quote here, but he would be kind of mocked and pierced on a tree. Heathens 300 years around.
And these aren't just heathens. These are the smartest people
Yes.
in our time. These are the forefathers.
Aristotle,
Plato.
yeah, Plato, and they're kind of discussing these other philosophers. That's like the conclusion they come to, and they basically draw that it's justice isn't what we think of, like, you know, when we say that someone is just here on earth, they say it's impossible unless this kind of event, because people wouldn't understand true justice. True justice, it's humiliating. True justice is it's sacrificial. It's so it's a lot of it is the opposite of what we feel like justice is. A lot of the ideas, at least that I have of justice, is to be right, finally to be right. And in reality, and I agree with him there. Justice, there was only one just person, and his name was Jesus. Lived here on earth, perfect life. Was actually crucified on a tree, was mocked, and left for us this legacy of true justice.